Well, hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Liam Larson, and you are listening to, I guess you'd say, an offshoot of Recreational Insanity. Still the title of the podcast, but this is a segment I'd like to call I'd Buy That for $1. If you've listened to my past episodes, you've heard me go on at length about what a great film RoboCop is. And there's a bespectacled, sweaty man who frequently appears on televisions on RoboCop films and proclaims that he'd buy that for $1. Now, why am I calling this segment I'd Buy That for $1? Well, I'll tell you. What I'm attempting to do is branch out and actually have a focus on this podcast, short of me droning on at length about random topics and practicing my banter. I have an ever-expanding collection of VHS movies, and a lot of them I've purchased for $1 or a little bit more. In the case of some of my big box films, I've paid $2. Yeah, big spender. In addition to that, I have several box sets of DVD box sets of 50 movies. They're, public domain or just really, really terrible films that probably work out to less than $1 each for those films. And I'm going to try and go through some of these. Ones that I have watched, ones that I haven't watched, and share the awesomeness with you. Because some of these films people have never heard of, never seen. I'm pretty sure the box sets are chock full of those. But for VHS-wise, I know there's still films kicking around that haven't made it to DVD. And today, I'm going to talk about a family movie, a musical from 1980, with a twist. In 1980, Robert Altman, that's the guy who directed MASH, seriously, made a live-action Disney Paramount musical. Live-action Popeye. Some of you may have heard of this, others may not have, because I know I usually bring this up in conversation when it's the topic of bad movies comes up. And so, well, hey, have you ever seen Popeye? No, it's a musical. Yes, it's a musical. The film was written by a man named Jules Pfeiffer, and honestly, I've never heard of this guy before. And he doesn't have a very large body of work, but it's kind of strange what he's done other than Popeye. He wrote a play called Little Murders, and later in 1971 it was turned into a film, which he also wrote the screenplay for. And it's not like it's some little rinky-dink production. It's got Alan Arkin in it, Donald Sutherland, who's also in MASH, Elliot Gould, also in MASH, kind of a connection here. And this is a weird part. This is really weird. The guy who played Clark Griswold's dad in Christmas Vacation, John Randolph, is in this film. And the woman who plays Clark's mother-in-law, Doris Roberts, is also in it. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you can probably look them up. But Doris Roberts, you'll probably know who this is immediately when I say this. She was the mom in Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, the big hair, the overbearing attitude, all that. Also, the other film, big film that he wrote is something called Carnal Knowledge. Again, never heard of this before in my life. And listen to the cast. Anne Margaret, Art Garfunkel. Yeah, Art Garfunkel, Jack Nicholson, and Candice Bergen, and I think Carol Kane and somebody else. But it sounds like a better movie. I probably should have watched that instead of Popeye. But I'm here to talk about Popeye. I'm here to enlighten you, and I might as well start with the cast. One of the reasons this film is famous or infamous, however you want to look at it, is that Robin Williams plays Popeye. Now, it seems like a no-brainer for a casting call, right? Because he can do voices, he's very animated. But honestly, I don't know if it's the prosthetics or what it is, but he comes up a little short. I mean, I read more Popeye comics than I've actually seen Popeye cartoons. I do own a couple, and you know, I can see he's doing his version of Popeye, which is sort of true to the original, but we're talking Robin Williams here, so he injects a lot of himself into the character, I guess I'd say. And next up, you can't have Popeye without Olive Oyl. Who better to play Olive Oyl than Shelley Duvall? Because whenever you see Shelley Duvall, what do you think? She looks like Olive Oyl. And apparently, as a child, she was teased with the name Olive Oyl because she was so tall and she had the high-pitched voice and all that. So, I mean, as a casting call, that's really great that you know, she fits it. And the only thing is you have to kind of get past the singing, because Olive does have a rather grating, unusual voice. And when it comes to singing, oh boy, yeah, it can get a little bad. And the whole Oyl family is in the film. Cole Oyl, the father Castor Oyl, and the mother whose name escapes me. But really strange fact here, Cole Oyl, Olive's brother, was played by a man named McIntyre Dixon. And this guy, he was, if anybody's ever watched Spoonie's videos of That Guy with the Glasses or the Spoonie Experiment, he did a series on a full motion CD-ROM game called Ripper. And this McIntyre Dixon fellow, he was in Ripper. And he also played the bus driver in the Jack Black movie School of Rock. Weird, huh? The cast here, there's all these strange coincidences and very odd career choices going on. Like the fellow who played Wimpy, Paul Dooley. He does a very good job of playing Wimpy, because I mean, Wimpy, he's a great character. And he was in a film that I saw when I was very young called Monster in the Closet, which gave me a crippling fear of closets for several years. And he's also been in about every TV show ever, like ER, CSI, all these shows. He's been in them. And another person who was in Monster in the Closet was the fellow who played the character of the Taxman, a man named Donald Moffat. And he's been in tons of stuff. He was the president of the United States in Clear and Present Danger. You know, the scene, you know, how dare you come in here and bark at me like a junkyard dog. That thing. And he was also, what was his name in The Thing? Gary, I think. He was Gary in The Thing, you know. He had that great line about being tied to the chair. Great film. Another better film I could have watched and talked about besides Popeye. But I digress. Let's go on with the cast, because this film has so many people in it that you wouldn't expect to see in a musical, or you wouldn't expect to see in a Disney film. The guy who plays Bluto, for one, his name is Paul Smith. And this film was made before Dune, but if you've seen Dune, Paul Smith played Raban, the beast Raban. You know, the demented, crazed Raban. And it's a little strange because you can kind of see a little bit of Raban coming out in Bluto, but he makes an awesome Bluto. And he sings this great song called I'm Mean, and it's about how he had a dream about beating himself up and choking himself to death. Really family friendly, wholesome Disney stuff. Yeah. Oh man, who we got next? Oh, Poop Deck Pappy, Popeye's father. If you've watched any of the old black and white cartoons, Poop Deck Pappy he's a very prominent character. He's a funny character too. And I think a fairly decent casting call here again, Ray Wollaston. If you don't know who that is, this is probably an obscure reference. There was a TV show called My Favorite Martian, and I believe it was also made into a film in 1999, I believe. And yeah, Ray Wollaston was your favorite Martian. And for you Trekkies out there, it's Boothby. They probably know what I'm talking about. He's a groundskeeper at Starfleet Academy. And he sings. He sings about how hate is so great. Again, more wholesome Disney stuff. Sadly, I believe he passed away in 2001. Really great actor. Very, very sad that he died. Who else have we got on the list here? These are kind of like, they're not main characters, but they're in there enough that you're like, hey, wait, I know that person. They were in something. Linda Hunt is in this. Yes, she's kind of the very strange-looking midgety woman, smaller person. And she's the mother of this massive, it's like a massive man-child called Oxblood Oxheart. He's the dirtiest fighter around. And yeah, she plays his mother. She's ringside at the fight and shows up a few times during the film. There's this big fight between Coal Oil and Oxblood, and Coal, of course, gets murdered. And then Popeye comes in, and there's a great big fight between Popeye and Oxblood about 3/4 of the way through the movie. And last one for the cast I'm going to talk about. There's probably more, because it's just nutty how many people are in this. But Dennis Franz. That's right, Sipowicz. And I believe he was also in Hill Street Blues, but I haven't seen a lot of that series, honestly. He plays one of the toughs. There's this gang of toughs that go around wearing sweaters and scarves and toques. I guess that's gang wear if you live in Sweet Haven. Well, yeah, they all have jolly pirate nicknames. Dennis Franz, his character is called Spike. There's Slug, Butch, Gozo, Bolo, and Mort. Strange name for a gang member, but yeah, okay. No, as I've said, this film is a Disney family movie, and it's a musical. So we've got a Disney live-action musical adaptation of a cartoon not necessarily owned by Disney, done in joint partnership with Paramount. I'm not sure how that works. Maybe Paramount owned the rights or something like that. But yeah, it's a live-action cartoon, so you'd expect it would be cartoony, you know, and I don't know if cartoony really embodies what it is, because the sets are over the top. Sweet Haven is recreated really nicely. It's very, very bizarre. The ships, the floating casino, just everything. It's done really, really well, and it feels like it's out of a cartoon. The wardrobe, again, is cartoony. Everything is cartoony. The wardrobe is really pulled off well. Robin Williams looks like Popeye. He's got the sailor outfit on. Olive Oil looks like Olive Oil. Wimpy looks like Wimpy. Bluto looks like Bluto, and so on and so forth. And all the little ancillary characters have very kind of exaggerated, comical outfits. And the big part about taking a live-action film and using your source material, your source material is a cartoon, so people's performances kind of have to reflect that. They have to be as over the top as the sets, as over the top as the wardrobes, and this movie has that in spades. It almost, I'd say they probably do a little bit too much of that, but that said, there are some really great slapstick moments in this film. It's full of physical humor, just really goofy falling over, people getting bonked, and you'll hear little Tweety Bird noises. Yes, they do have Tweety Bird noises in this film. And as with any cartoon, there's lots of stuff being destroyed. There's one scene in the film where Bluto pretty much demolishes an entire house, like knocks down walls, roofs cave in. It's a pretty good scene. That's right around the point that he sings his song about being mean. But I think if I could single out one actor in the film that really embodies the slapstick, physical kind of cartoony presence, all that clowning around would be a guy named Bill Irwin, who you've probably not heard of. But I went and I checked this guy out because I saw him in the film and I'm like, I know him from somewhere. He looks familiar. There's a lot of that in this film, as I've said. And on his IMDb page, it says he actually went to clown college. And I can kind of see that because Bluto and the other toughs are constantly abusing his character, which I believe his character is called Ham Gravy. Yeah, I know. There's several scenes where he just really pulls it off. And like I said, you probably don't know who I'm talking about. But, oh geez. I'm trying to remember what he was in that I found out. If you've seen the live-action Grinch flick, the Jim Carrey one, Lulu Who, the father of Cindy Lou, the postmaster, that was him. And he also plays a character called Mr. Noodle on Sesame Street. Yeah, it's sort of random, but just a really good performance out of this guy. He steals most of the scenes that he's in. But like I said, with cartoons, you have to have destruction, right? You have to have stuff being blown up or being destroyed. And this movie, it has those moments where there's all this kind of strange things happening. And the finale actually features this really bizarre boat chase scene where Bluto has kidnapped Sweet Pea and Olive Oil and goes off in a boat, this kind of steamer, think, the African Queen, and then Poop Deck Pappy and Popeye and Wimpy and the rest of the oils basically hop on Poop Deck Pappy's house, which also doubles as a boat. So there's the inevitable chase scene. They're all racing to get towards Poop Deck Pappy's buried treasure. And yeah, just the sound of it is pretty bizarre, and it's a very strange scene. And eventually there's some cannon fire, and I believe they ram Bluto's boat, although I don't think he's on it at the time, and both boats sink. So there's your destruction. It's the whole showdown in the finale is a little bizarre, very long and drawn out. And because the ships have sunk and they're looking for this buried treasure in this cove, the final showdown between Bluto and Popeye starts with them both in chest-deep water. So there's lots of good physical humor. Popeye kind of gets knocked out and goes underwater, and the oils and Poop Deck Pappy throw him a life preserver. But instead of it helping him, he pops up in the middle of the life preserver, and his arms are restricted, and Bluto gives him a pretty good right hook, and he starts spinning, complete with motorboat noises. Again, there's that cartoon aspect of it. Really good stuff. The whole thing is funnier than I'm making it out to be, and the best part is the Dreadlord Cthulhu gets in on the action. Oh, okay, I'm kidding. It's a giant squid, but that would have been a better movie. I would have gladly watched that. I think it would have been a better movie. But I should probably give fair warning. As I've said, the finale is really drawn out and long, and for the entirety of it, Olive is pretty much trapped, and she's doing her "Oh Popeye, save me" bit in the Olive Oil voice, which can get a little grating, and then it gets weird. Because after the squid tries to get Sweet Pea, he turns his attention to Shelley Duvall, to Olive Oil. And, no word of a lie, she says this when the tentacles are reaching out for her. And I quote, "Don't get fresh." Thank you, Disney. Thank you for that implied tentacle rape moment. Every family film should have one. The whole film is over the top. And you can't have an over-the-top musical without music, of course. And the music in this film was written by a man named Harry Nilsson. Another person I've never heard of, and I probably should have, because he's an actor, composer, he was a pop star in the 60s and the 70s and onward. and he's released, I think it's close to 20 albums, including 4 film soundtracks. I think he's done the soundtracks for more films, but I think I was looking at his discography and I could only see 4. And the one film, which I'm trying to find, apparently it's on MySpace and YouTube to watch, but I'd actually like to find a physical copy of it. He did the music for it and starred in the film. It's a film called Son of Dracula and was made in 1974 with Ringo Starr. And it's got Peter Frampton and Keith Moon and John Bonham. It's got this incredible cast, and it's a spoof movie with music. So, again, here's another film I probably should have watched instead of Popeye. But I might, if I find it, even if I don't, I may just watch it online, and that way it doesn't cost me anything, so I can say, yes, I bought that for $1. And I will share my findings with you. In the meantime, though, if you can find it, watch it, because it looks awful. Oh my god. But, again, I'm digressing. The music. If you've seen Popeye cartoons, you'll know that they did feature musical numbers. I know the cartoons I have, where it's Popeye playing Aladdin, and oh geez, what's the second one? The second one is like a Cinderella story, except Popeye is Cinderella and Olive Oyl is a princess. Kind of interesting. But yeah, there's singing in it. There's these really really well done musical numbers where Popeye sings and Olive Oyl sings. So if you're making a live action movie, I guess you got to throw in the music, and there is a lot of it. The film opens with the residents of Sweet Haven singing the Sweet Haven national anthem, which I think they sing again around the time that there's the big fight between Oxheart Oxblood, try saying that 3 times fast, and Popeye. And after that, we get into the kind of unintentionally funny, in that kind of dirty double entendre kind of way, songs. Robin Williams, his opening number, as the film opens with a rowboat on rough seas, and there's a big storm, and it's Popeye rowing it. Actually, they tease you. They start the film with the black and white Popeye, and Popeye comes out from the hatch, and he's like, what am I doing here? I'm in the wrong movie. I'm in a much better movie than the one you're watching. So, yeah, go have fun and watch this piece of cinematic weirdness. But his Robin Williams introduction, after he meets the tax man and is charged the new-to-town tax and all kinds of other taxes, sings a song called Blow Me Down. Yes, Robin Williams impersonating Popeye, singing a song about being blown down. Which, it's a family movie, it's a nautical thing, but hey, I kind of got a kick out of it, because he's going around town singing about Blow Me Down, and people are avoiding him like the plague. They're scared of him. He wants to get blown down, but nobody wants anything to do with him, and that hurts his feelings. It doesn't stop there either. Shelley Duvall, I believe this is her first number in the film, sings about Bluto, the song about Bluto, about how he's hers and whatnot. And she sings about how he's long and large and virile and all hers. Yes, it goes on at length. And admittedly, there is a fair bit of adult humor in this film, if you go looking for it. There's one scene where Wimpy has borrowed Sweet Pea, and he's gone to the floating casino to bet on horse races because Sweet Pea has the power of precognition. He's a mutant. And of course the Oyls and Popeye figure this out, and they go there. And once they get to the floating casino, they enter through the whorehouse section, I guess. They take the whorehouse entrance. And Popeye describes it as a house of ill reputes. Of course, he has his speech impediment, and goes even further to warn Olive and her family not to touch anyone because they may get a venerable disease. That's right, a venerable disease. And then a few scenes later, he starts singing a musical number with them, and they're fawning all over him and touching him. So I guess he's already got a venerable disease himself, so it doesn't matter. And it is a Disney musical. I apologize for any background noise. I have my patio door open and there's a train going by at the moment. So if it's there, I apologize. Back to the show, though. These just really batshit crazy, weird songs are there, but since it's Disney, they have to have the obligatory sappy, happy love songs, which there are, and they're not bad. You know, the songs, although really bizarre, crazy, and at times inappropriate, are pretty good, I think. So with all that said, you know, I've said some bad things about this film. I've said that it's not a particularly good film, and in fact, the first time I watched it, I didn't watch it all the way through. I took it in chunks at about 15 minutes at a go, just because the musical numbers made me want to stick sharp objects into my ears and gouge my eyes out. But this second time around, I sat down with more of an open mind and said, okay, I know this film is really weird and it's probably really bad, which might have something to do with the fact that the people who made it and were involved with it pretty much disavow that it ever happened. But I thought, I'm going to sit down and watch this and try and see the good parts of it. Well, I guess that's kind of hard for me, but it's a family favorite, right? It's a Disney film. So, as a family film, does it stand on its own? Yes. It's entertaining. I guess it's a little violent. And frankly, I don't think Popeye is really popular with kids nowadays, so I don't think your little ones are going to be begging you to rent Popeye. They're probably more into Pikachu and all that good stuff. But if you're like me and you go out of your way to find all these cinematic abnormalities that time and the filmmakers try to forget, I say watch it. Just for the sheer goofiness of it. The goofiness of the acting, the singing, the bizarre sets, and the unintentional hilarity of the music. So, yeah, I can safely say I'd buy that for $1, because I did. Yeah, it cost me $1. And it's money well spent. I'm happy to have it in my collection. If you get the chance, watch it. Get some friends together and enjoy. if that's a word I can use. Oh, man. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for listening to me drone on and on about an awful movie. Be sure to go and watch it. And I hope you enjoyed. I'd buy that for $1. I know I did. Not buy that for $1. Well, actually I did, and I enjoyed it too. So, yeah. This has been a new segment of my podcast, Recreational Insanity. Please visit my YouTube page or my blog where I have these posted, and listen to my previous episodes if you haven't. Really, seriously, I'd appreciate it. Any critiques, hate mail, anything like that, leave comments or email me at lablarson, all one word, at live.ca. That's L-A-B Larson with an E at live.ca. Thank you again for listening, and until next you hear me, remember, sanity is overrated. Try the alternative.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eat me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm one of gazookas, which hates all palookas, but hates honey up and square. My biffs and I bops them, and always outroughs them, but none of them gets nowhere. If anyone chances to risk me fist. It's pop and it's wham, understand? So keep good behavior, that's your one lifesaver with Popeye the Sailor Man. Oh, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm